I had an experience recently in a restaurant where a man dressed as a woman walked into the toilet. So I was on my own in the toilets. He stood behind me and stared at me into the mirror, looking at me in my eyes. Now, I have no idea if he intended me any harm. But my instinct, my evolved instinct as a woman was to be frightened, because unlike almost any other species, women are far less powerful than men. We can't defend ourselves. That's why we have... No, it's a fact. The difference in strength between men and women is phenomenal. That's why we have separate sex categories for sport. Women are evolved to be wary of men in intimate spaces. That's why we have single-sex spaces. They must continue to exist for the safety and privacy of women. This threatens that social contract. Finally, it threatens the understanding of our law, which should be based on fact. And you cannot change your sex any more than you can change your place of birth or who your parents are. Now, I fully understand the complex arguments involved in this, and we should treat it with compassion. But if the law is not based on fact, then how can we trust the law? That is why the government is absolutely right to serve this notice.
Order. Lloyd Russell-Moyle.
Goodness me, that speech was probably one of the worst transphobic dog whistle speeches that I've heard in an...
Don't pause it, please.
Bruv.
Let me finish.
Wait, bruv, come on. Dog whistle. You think that's a dog whistle?
I don't know what that means.
He's basically saying that she's fear-mongering. Nothing she said in there was inaccurate. Absolutely nothing. I'm going to let him say what he has to say, but men, like, you can remove women from this conversation and just use the different categories in sports for men, right? There's a reason that we separate the Brock Lesnars from the Tony Fergusons. We're also designed to be more wary of bigger, stronger men. So if you take a whole gender who is generally much smaller and weaker than us, of course they are going to evolve to be wary of men. How is that dog whistling? If you have somebody come into your space that has historically been just for women, of course you're going to look at them sideways. Even if they are physically smaller than you, a physically smaller man can still cause serious harm to a woman twice his size. I know that because when I was doing Muay Thai years ago, we had a girl in there who was 3 times the size of me, and I whooped. I'll cut that part out. My point is that I understand why women are scared to have men in their spaces.
Yeah, I think I just don't like it when a man is coming at this woman against what she's saying when he's a man and he won't understand how that feels as a woman to be in that sort of position. Men are far more stronger than women and stuff, and women are feeling uneasy in these situations. How do you get to a point where you do protect women if everyone's just allowed to do whatever now because of these new rules and things that are being put in place? So if people are identifying as a different gender and they're now allowed to use a different toilet, anything can happen, because anyone who does have a gender, let's say, could just lie and say, I don't identify now, and they're being allowed that as an excuse. Where does the safety and protection come in place now if everyone can pretty much just do whatever they want?
Goodness me, that speech was probably one of the worst transphobic dog whistle speeches that I've heard in an awful long time. The idea of linking trans people with predators, frankly, is disgusting, and you should be ashamed.
No, calm down. Yes.
No.
Lloyd Russell-Moyle.
Way to you, or anyone else, to the honourable member, Now, on the substance of this, ignoring that horrible speech that we have just heard, actually...
Order, Peter Bottomley.
Did the chair hear anything transphobic in the previous speech?
I have to say to the Father of the House that, different colleagues, different members of this House are going to interpret speeches in different ways. And I suggest that what we do is move on quickly.
They just shut it down.
Yeah, but I think it's because she knew that she didn't have any.
Her way out of that.
Yeah, she
very sneaky.
She knew that was a double-edged sword. That whatever she said, it was going to be. So she had no choice but to move away from it. Yeah.
If she wanted to get home for dinner.
That was so slimy. Oh my god! Just take a stance.
All right, so this is what I wanted to say on it, right? I completely understand the plight of like most trans people where they say, well, we don't want to do any harm to women. We just want to be in the spaces where we feel most comfortable. My problem with that is the same problem that we've seen with like the prison situation going on. Most trans people are probably not going to end up in prison because most people don't end up in prison. There's a subsection of society that goes to prison for doing bad things. The problem is that if you have one trans person that goes into a female prison, the amount of chaos that they can cause in the space of a couple of minutes when the guards ain't watching or whatever is crazy. The same way that I'm not against banning guns. I'm going to try and bring this full circle, so like try and stay with me here, but I'm not against banning guns, but I completely understand the arguments that Americans have where they want more gun control because it only takes one psycho to cause problems for everyone. So whilst I don't think there should be a complete ban on guns, I'm more than happy to hear arguments for more gun control, gun regulations. That guy stood up and said, it's ridiculous to think that trans people are going to cause harm to women or something to that effect, which is a ridiculous thing to say because trans people are people. They're human beings like us. They have emotions like us. It only takes one bad trans person to cause harm to a whole bunch of people, which we've already seen. We've already had someone that was trans go to prison and rape 2 women. And that's just one case of it. So your argument might be that most people are not going to go into these spaces and cause havoc, but it only takes one to cause serious amounts of harm. And the other argument I hear is, well, other women can enter the toilets and cause harm to other women, which is it's a stupid argument. It's along the same lines of the argument where they want to blend male and female sports together. Obviously, women can cause harm to women, but the amount of damage that a man can cause a woman is astronomically higher.
Mic drop.
Do you guys have anything you want to add on to it?
No, I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Actually, I also want to say that I think it's very funny that a woman stood up, gave her story, said that she felt uncomfortable, and then a grown man told her that what she's saying is dog whistling, basically invalidating everything she's saying. What I find funny about this shit is that now we know that there's a lot of women that are scared to speak up about this. So I'm not saying that this is all women. I think that they're more on the side of common sense than what I'd previously thought. But they're going to have to continue like standing up in the comment section or making videos or whatever, or going on these marches, because these guys are going to undermine your spaces. They're going to take everything away from you. So in one breath, you want to go after the patriarchy and put men down. And in the same breath, you're going to validate them by allowing these guys to tell you that how you feel is invalid and that we should have people you don't want in your spaces in your spaces. So you're going to have to pick a lane. And I think if you stay quiet about this, you're going to lose, obviously. I understand being scared. I get it scary times, but you're going to have to speak up about it. Otherwise, Brock Lesnar's going to win the female bantamweight division before you know it, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Okay.
Right, so if you want my take on it as a woman, would I feel uncomfortable with a transgender being in the same toilet as me? No, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. The only thing that would make me feel uncomfortable, whether they was a woman or a transgender woman, is just how somebody is acting towards me when I'm there. If somebody's standing in a certain way, making me feel uncomfortable, like staring at me and stuff, then I'm going to feel uncomfortable. But if there was just a transgender person in there going toilet as normal and leaving, why am I going to feel in any type of way about that? Okay,
so then should we just get rid of male and female bathrooms then? If you don't feel...
No, because a transgender person is different to sharing a toilet with men as a whole.
But I can be transgender now if I want. You don't have to go through the surgery to be transgender. It's a state of mind.
But then that's my point I'm making of how do you then protect people if anyone can just say whatever they want now and use whatever bathrooms they want? I do think there should be separate bathrooms. So the whole topic of the trans thing, it does get a bit...
So are you comfortable with them using the bathrooms if they've gone through the full surgery?
Yes.
So as long as they haven't got a penis so that you can't be assaulted to that level, you're more comfortable with them being in there.
Yeah.
But if they are transgender but they still have a penis, you're not okay with it.
No, I'm not saying I'm not okay with it. I just think if somebody is legitimately trans, like actually... It's hard to know. What my point is saying is that just predators that want to act like there's something to gain access into a certain place, that's when it becomes concerning. And how do you differentiate that and protect people? Yeah. So should toilets stay separate for the safety of people? Yes. But then it's difficult because then how do you do that without seeming like you're being transphobic when you're not?
Well, of course you're not being transphobic.
The thing about the separate toilet thing is there are so many places within the UK as well, but especially in Europe, outside of the UK, where there are gender neutral bathrooms. So literally men, women, anyone can go in there. They just do their business and get out. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think the argument about having separate bathrooms because you're worried about safety, I don't know how valid that is, because the people that are gonna, try and get access to those bathrooms in order to, assault someone or whatever, they're going to do that either way. They're going to try and do that whatever way anyway.
Yeah, but I think it gives more opportunity to people.
It's another opportunity. It's a very good one as well. There's no cameras in bathrooms. It's just another... I'm not saying that majority of trans people want to do that. Obviously, they don't. It's
not about trans people now, though. It's about anybody who could do that.
Well, my problem with this argument is the idea, like what pains me about this is that they say trans people are people. And I agree with that. Trans people have the same rights as me and you. But if trans people are people, then trans people understand that bad people exist everywhere. So there's going to be bad people within that camp. When they say stuff like a trans person would never do that, that's nonsense. That's like saying a black person wouldn't do that or an Asian person wouldn't do that. People from all walks of life have the capacity to do nasty things for no reason. And the point of separating the bathrooms is mostly just to protect women, and so they have their own privacy. If you're okay with somebody walking in to your space and he has a penis, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Personally, I find that gender neutral toilets very, very weird. If I had a daughter, I would not let her go into a gender neutral toilet. If I had knowledge that she wanted to use the bathroom, I would find one where it's specifically for women. So I acknowledge they exist. I don't like the fact that they do. But if you're okay with a transgender person walking into the bathroom, you can't read their mind. You don't know what they're going to do. They might not even have surgery. You're not exactly going to look over and see, because that's going to be an invasion of privacy, one, and it's just a bit weird to do that. Because you can't read their mind, you just have to throw it in the air. Maybe this is a decent person. More than likely they are. They just wanted to use this space. And if they're not, then I'm kind of so. Yeah,
but just with what you're saying, gender neutral toilets are a good thing if still male and female toilets exist as well, because then it is giving that space for transgenders to feel comfortable. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I hear that. I'm against gender neutral bathrooms. I'm not saying they should abolish them. I don't really understand why they have them in the first place. I'm kind of confused at why we made such a big deal way back in the day to separate these sort of things, but then we have spaces where, and again, I'm putting this on men, because it's not like a woman's going to walk into a man's bathroom and him.
No, but okay, so let's say you are transgender, right? And you've transitioned from male to female. You are a female now, let's say, and
female's biology.
No, I understand that, but you're living life as a woman now. So you are living life as a woman now, going to feel uncomfortable going into a male's toilet. See what I'm saying? So that's why I think gender neutral is what's best, because then you're not feeling uncomfortable by using a man's toilet, but then women are still having their,
They don't have their privacy anymore if you have gender neutral.
But that's what I'm saying. If there's male toilets, female toilets, and then a gender neutral, so you've got all three spaces, that's what's best.
That's unreasonable to ask of businesses to put in a third toilet, though.
I think it's unreasonable to ask. I agree with you. I think it is unreasonable to ask to put more toilets in. I don't know what the logistics of putting toilets in public places is, but I imagine it will cost a lot of money. And I think it's unreasonable to ask women or tell women that you have nothing to be worried about. Because if you are worried about a grown man, and for example, by all rights, I can be transgender, right? There's nothing that's stopping anyone from telling me that I can't identify as a woman. And if I decide to identify as a woman, I can walk into a woman's bathroom if I want to.
Yeah, that's what I don't agree with.
Assuming that those places allow trans people in the opposing gender's bathrooms, right? There's nothing stopping me from that. Now, if I was a violent person, I can walk into the bathroom. There's no cameras there. If I put my hands around your neck, there's nothing that you're going to do, right? I can put my hands around your neck and just force your face into the toilet and do whatever I wanted with you, right? There's nothing that you can do, and that is the case for majority of women. If a guy is being truly violent, there's nothing you can do. No matter how many of these Mary Sue videos you watch of these women doing judo throws on men, that ain't happening in real life. They're going to break you very, very quickly. So the idea is to protect women here. So I acknowledge that majority of trans people are not going to harm women. If anything, they're going to be elated to be welcomed into these spaces. They're going to feel happy. probably going to make their day. I get that. But the one trans person, which we've already seen happen, walks in there with nefarious intentions, or you get these assholes who are using the plight of trans people as a way to exploit women, then we're going to have a bunch of women on our hands that have been raped and assaulted by these guys just because we bent the laws in a way to make people feel better about themselves. So I can't get behind it. I can't get behind that at all. You can acknowledge someone and how they feel, and also look at the laws and understand why the laws are in place for a reason. So I just think it's a bit mad that that guy got that angry at a woman telling him that she was afraid in a bathroom.
Yeah, that's what I can't get behind there, because he's not a woman and he will never understand what that feels like.
Yeah, and to call it dog whistling, like they use all these buzzwords to like throw the legitimacy of your argument out the window. You could have 100 women telling you that, look, we don't feel comfortable with this. We don't feel comfortable sharing a locker room. You could have parents saying, I don't feel comfortable with my daughter sharing a locker room. That doesn't matter. And there's proof of that as well. When Leah Thomas transitioned to a female, they told the girls that were competing with Leia that if you have a problem with Leia being in the female locker room, bear in mind Leah Thomas still has a penis, then that's your problem, and we can offer you counseling. We can offer you therapy or whatever because you have a problem with Leah Thomas exposing themselves in a locker room. And if the parents have a problem with it, we can also offer you counseling. You see what the problem is here? And I know I'm going to get some girls in the comment section saying that I'm mansplaining again, but I'm sorry, like this is common sense. This argument can come from a man or a woman. If I had a daughter and she was competing and she had to share a locker room with guys because the school are trying to be all inclusive, there's going to be a big problem.
What ages is this?
What age were they when they... Can you check on it, John, how old Leah Thomas is?
Leah Thomas is college, so...
Would you be comfortable with your 18-year-old
No, because
daughter?
this is the thing. If it's sort of younger than 18, then I think it's definitely a big problem.
I think any age is a problem.
But no, yeah, I agree. It's unfair to impose that on everyone else just to make one person feel included. You're now making loads of others feel a type of way.
Yeah.
She's 23, 24.
Okay, so I think the incident with Leah Thomas took place about 2 years ago now, I want to say. So it was old enough regardless. Like even if it was a 16-year-old girl or a 16-year-old boy and they were sharing the locker room with 16-year-old girls, I would not be okay with that. And to tell the girls who felt uncomfortable about exposing them, because I was listening to this girl on, I think it's like a sports podcast called Crank, Bill and Crank or something like that. And the girl was saying that she was in a locker room with Leah Thomas, and all of the girls in there kind of understand that the locker room is like a safe space for them. They can get naked in front of each other because they're all women and there's no judgment there. Now Leah Thomas is walking around, 6'3", schlong swinging in the air, and these girls are supposed to be okay with it. I think it's a bit messed up that you're telling women who feel uncomfortable that they are dog whistling and that they should just get used to it, and that they're the transphobic ones and they're the ones that need cancelling. So again, like I can sit here and I can talk about this until I'm blue in the face, but unless more women stand up and say something, then this is what's going to happen.